hour of Arc Arrival, and I'm joined here today with my best friend and other band member, Magnus Kiemer. How you doing, Mad? Yep.
I'm
How
all
you
right.
doing, man? I suddenly can't speak. You know.
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Yeah, how are you?
Ah, same as always. Just kind of sit on my ass, and yeah, it's not gotten a better. So
Fair enough. Fair enough.
yeah. So what have you been up to? Like, because I mean, I know what you've been up to. Obviously, I'm in the freaking band, but give us a little bit of insight of what you've been up to. Is there any new demos, or is there stuff you're really excited about? And especially because of the upcoming EP on Friday.
Yeah, yeah. I'm definitely super excited about the EP coming out. I'm not gonna lie, for about the last week, I kind of forgot about it,
Yeah.
just because I've been so busy. But thanks to Greg doing the social media post saying, "Oh, it's seven,
I
six,
mean, I
five
mean,
days
no,
away."
no, we all do it. We all do it, don't we? We all do it. What are you talking about,
Uh
just
huh.
Greg?
Yeah, yeah. I know. No. I go on Instagram and be like, "Oh, it's 7 days away. Cool. I should probably take more of an interest in that now."
One of my friends was just like, "Oh, how long's the EP got to come out?" And I'm like, "A month." And then the next day, I saw Greg saying 7 days. I'm like, "Shit,
Yeah, yeah.
shit."
I'm not gonna lie.
That.
The single between Count Havoc Among Our Sins being released and then the like the intermittent weeks before the EP comes out, I kind of forgot about it. So I imagine everyone else
Yeah.
has as well. But these will
I
be a good
mean,
reminder.
I don't know if you've been keeping up to date with all the like looking at Spotify every day and seeing how much the song has grown, but it's been getting a lot of like a lot. We've went from 19 monthly listens to almost 200 just
That's not
since.
bad. I don't
Yeah.
check Spotify because I don't have it. So I kind of just
Ah,
let you
yes.
guys send in the screenshots.
Well, where I think we're currently sitting at 2,700 listens on Count Havoc Among Our Sins alone, which is just damn. I never
Yeah,
thought
it's
anyone
pretty
would,
good.
I don't think, even if it was the one person just sitting there clicking refresh, it's like, "Ah." I'm happy with that. It's great. It's a good,
We all know that person would be you.
maybe me and my friends. I may have paid them five, I may have paid them £5 just to do
You'll never
it.
earn that back.
Nope. Not with Spotify,
But
young
yeah, no,
fella.
it's been kind of fun. Obviously, like I said, I was kind of busy because I was like
Mhm.
I've been doing stuff in the background to kind of help the EP along. So I've done some playthrough videos of the songs for guitar. I've done some content building for YouTube, which I've still to release because I've still to edit it
Mhm.
and just kind of writing in the background. But yeah, keeping busy. I got a new instrument from Ibanez
Do
to
you want to talk about that for a
muck
little bit?
around with.
Because I think it's dead
I
awesome.
Sure, yeah. I got an email from a friend of mine who I guess works in association with Ibanez or works with people who are in association with them, and he was like, he really enjoyed what me and Jason from Legendary Pickups had achieved with these sort of cheaper Ibanez models, with the RGA 42 FM models,
Mhm.
and they're kind of like your mid-priced guitars. So like if you broke one, you wouldn't cry about it, as opposed to like a multi-thousand-pound guitar and you get a scratch on it and you're like, oh, that's my mortgage going.
Yeah.
So yeah, these guitars that I use for full time, I upgraded the hardware, like the tuning pegs and the pickups. The pickups were the biggest thing for me,
Yeah, you've
and
got a little I don't know if you're endorsed by Legendary Pickups or if you just have like a really good relationship with them, but you've never stopped talking about them for the past what year?
yeah, it's been about a year since I've been with them. Yeah, no, I'm not endorsed by them. No, I work very closely with Jason,
Mhm.
the guy at Legendary, but no, I'm just a very big avid fan, I guess. I use the one model in all my guitars, and yet all my guitars still sound completely different.
Yeah,
So
I didn't actually know that. What I thought you used two different models for your different guitars. I thought you got the I don't know what pickups you got, but you got the Zeus pickups. Is that right?
no, it's always been the Zeus model.
Mhm.
The pink guitar that kind of people have slowly started to associate me with. The pickups that I put in them, the pink set, were the very first set of Zeus that I ever got, but they were also the only ever set that Jason made 100% by hand. There was no machinery involved.
All
So they're
right.
very unique in that way. Obviously, the rest of the models, as Jason became more popular and legendary, had more customers, Jason had to move to a machine winder. But no, the pink set are the last ever completely handmade, completely unique 6-string Zeus set. So obviously that pink guitar is very got a very unique voice. And the first gig that we played with those pickups in Opium in Edinburgh,
Oh yeah. Good gig.
yeah, that was a very good gig because that guitar just sounded, oh my god, it was like taking a muffler of off of a
I remember
off of a
when
car. It was just like gonna
we
just
actually
like
had to tell you to.
ripping it.
I can remember your old pickups that you had in that. I don't know if it was that guitar, if it was your brown Ibanez guitar, but like you had been playing it and you were kind of like, oh yeah, I need to boost this and boost this and boost that to be able to get the perfect tone. And then when you plugged in your pink guitar with the new pickups in, oh, the pain in my ears! It was way too freaking loud because you had your old settings still on your amp head. So I was just sitting there, like,
Yeah, that was a fun story. The story behind that was obviously the stock Ibanez Quantum pickups. You know, they're
uh,
great for.
I thought it was DiMarzio's.
No, that was my 7-string. My 7-string kit was an old
Ah,
tester guitar, and it had a DiMarzio on the bridge and a comparison in the neck. But the pink guitars, the 6-strings that I played, had a like I think I recorded Monster and Me and War Torn with those stock pickups on the
hey,
first
we
Ibanez
don't
that I
talk
got.
about Monster Me. We don't talk about Monster Me. That's
Ne-
uncharted territory.
Needless to say, that those are the pickups on those recordings, but they didn't sound. I don't know, they just weren't as articulate as I wanted, and I kept fighting with it, and I kept saying, "Oh yeah, pedal
I,
here, pedal there, more gain," and it just
I
never works out.
seeing from what you had and what you went to, you can tell that you were trying to force yourself to fall in love with these pickups that were already in your guitar. Maybe because I think you couldn't quite afford the sound, or you couldn't hear what pickups could create that sound, if that makes sense. And then
Oh
when you
God, no!
found Legendary, it was
I
just like,
couldn't afford.
damn.
Yeah, I couldn't afford the big brand pickups. You know, I couldn't afford a bare
Mm,
knuckle set. They're like £270
yeah,
for a set. And then I got in contact with Jason, and I think I heard about him through Ross from Nishima from just a random Facebook video.
yeah, I
He
remember you
demoed
saying that.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah, he did a quick like one of those crappy little film on your phone videos. Ross was testing out a new bridge pickup, and I was like, "Crap, that sounds amazing!" And because Ross is super into his high end gear, he has like Kempers and Mayonnaise guitars and stuff, like
yeah.
super expensive stuff. And I was like, "Damn, better go check this out." And message the guy, and the first set I had just blew me away. They've been in my guitars ever since. Slowly upgrading all my
Mm.
guitars. My 7-string was the second set that I got, and I had to explain to Jason the reason I started replacing pickups was because I was gouging away the plastic
I
on the
remember
pickups
that.
with my pick. I was slowly gouging away the pole pieces. So Jason started making like these super durable gunmetal covers. So ever since then, they've had like super durable covers, so I can't
So
destroy them as easily.
I've got to I've got to say this on air. So one of the biggest problems that Mag's always had, like I might change strings every with my guitars. I don't play as avidly as you have, and I don't have sweat that just destroys. It's like nuclear sweat. As soon as he touches something, it just goes tss, gone. It becomes like a pure acoustic string afterwards. It looks so fine. It's like vinegar. I swear to God. And
Yeah, it's not fun.
every single time Mag plays a set of strings, about 2 hours or 3 hours, like after a practice, he's always like, "Oh man, I need to change the strings now." Oh no! I'm like, dude, what the fuck? And
Yeah, it's
it wasn't until I until I played to your guitar trying to show you a riff, I was like, fuck, this is just disgusting. I actually don't want to touch this anymore. Here you go.
yeah,
It's
it's
it's a
quite difficult, especially when you're like in a hot rehearsal room and your hands are like the first thing to sweat, and it's just like yeah, my sweat just corrodes through
it's
absolutely fucking everything. It's
I think
ridiculous.
if you weren't in a band, I think you should have went to a traveling circus with that. You'd have made it.
Yeah, I could just hold the bars of a prison cell and it just slowly dissolves the bars. Yeah.
Hell yeah, bitch. Who's out now?
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
Alcatraz?
it's difficult, yeah, because I've had to replace a lot of parts, and a lot of hardware on guitars just because I've just it's like we've either played a show or something along those lines, and then I forgot about it and opened the case up, and I'm like, crap! It's like opening like Tutankhamun's tomb or his sarcophagus. You're just
No,
like, crap! This thing looks
that's
disgusting.
that's that's just too cruel on Tutankhamun, like
Yeah, poor guy.
He's just in wherever they go, the afterlife, right? He's probably looking at your guitar and going,
yeah, bad even by his standards.
Exactly. So the single Count Havoc Among Our Sins, run me through, because the whole process started with you, and it started with you I was like, yeah, we should do an EP, but it really did start with your ideas, just you blasting away. So talk me through that single, how you came up with the ideas, how you just went through it. Did you have a certain feeling that you were going through during that process that made you completely just zone in and get with it?
Well, that's a pretty deep question, I'm not gonna lie. No, the truth is much simpler than that. It's ever since Arc Arrival sort of formed, and since various lineup changes, and I won't get into that, but it's just like since I don't know what phrase to use, but since more clarity came into the band, and I knew that people were gonna
mental clarity.
Mental clarity, and sort of people were gravitating more towards my ideas. I started getting more confident with songwriting and whatnot. So as far as the more recent material came about, it would usually start with just me and a computer, just kind of noodling riffs and ideas and stuff or whatever.
YouTube drums.
No, that's back in the day when I couldn't even afford you couldn't
even afford a click track.
Yeah, actually, believe it or not, there's a song that's actually not yet released, which I'll keep it kind of hush hush, but we've played it live a couple of times. But the very first demo of that was written to a YouTube drum track, and it sounded so good that we stripped the drums off of it, and then you kind of put your own drums on it. And I think that's lying mixed somewhere on my hard drive that we still need to release it. It's a killer song.
It won't be called this at the end, but was that Ginger Ale?
No, actually, it was Resurrection. Resurrection's the one that was into that. But actually, I'm not gonna lie, Ginger Ale was actually written to another set of
that was from a bygone era. That was
that was. I only stopped doing that because you kept on every time I put a demo into the group chat, you'd be like, "Did you use YouTube drums?" And be like, "Maybe, maybe not. Maybe I'm just that good at programming MIDI drums." You're like, "They're fucking YouTube drums, aren't they?" They sound terrible.
It's because I knew that you never had any MIDI drums or anything like that, because
I've
only known you, and I saw your whole plugin file and VSTs files, and there was only one drum plugin at all.
And that Sean Pandy drum looper plugin. Yeah.
Oh, I'm talking about the MT Power Drum Kit, which is fucking supreme, by the way. Highly recommend.
I only got that because after your recommendation for it.
Yeah, you got to give it this. It's absolutely completely free. Well, you can pay for it, and then you get so many other things. But completely free version, it's amazing because everything.
Definitely for a starter thing, for just to get the job done, it definitely does the job.
It's completely.
You can always replace it with your own samples.
Exactly, that's exactly what I was just about to say. It's all isolated, and it's maybe I've used Easy Drummer, and I think I used Superior Drummer once or twice. I'm not sure, but it was all kind of okay, they're good, but to be honest, the samples never sounded aggressive enough. And if you ever put EQ in an Easy Drummer thing, it would just end up sounding like 70s kick drum, where it was just kind of like that floppy kind of, but also kind of bouncy kind of sound, if that makes sense.
A foot on wet cardboard.
Yeah, it was just oh no, it was horrifying, genuinely horrifying. Yeah. But when I use MT Power Drum Kits, to be honest, they're pretty good, and you can just sample over them. The only things I hate are the toms. They just sound like baby rattles. It's like,
but back to your
yes.
question. This always happens. We always go on a tangent.
Yes.
since I don't know, since maybe about 2 years, not every song. I would say like maybe half or maybe two or three quarters of the material that comes out of Arc Arrival, it genuinely starts with me making like a really rough demo on a computer with maybe just guitars and bass, or maybe even just guitars, and I'll send it to you, and me and you will go back and forth and build it from there, and then we'll have the balls to send it to Greg for like final for like final judgment, and be like,
Yeah.
okay, right, that idea isn't the best form it can be, because
You know what that reminds me of? Have you ever watched Power Rangers SPD?
no, because I have a life.
Well, I was young when I was a younger boy, 19. I watched Power Rangers SPD, right? It's one of the older ones. It's like with Time Force and stuff like that. It's a few seasons after that, I think. And it was just they had this little phone thing, and they clicked it, and it was just like Judgment Time. That's just what I imagined. Just Greg just going Judgment Time, and then us just going fuck for a whole 4 minutes. That's genuinely what I imagine when you said judgment. The Greg's final judgment.
Yeah. Sorry, you cut out there for a little bit there. I couldn't hear you for a second.
I apologize.
No, it's okay. But yeah, no, like about a decent chunk of Arc Arrival material usually starts with like me and you going back and forth sending stuff. I mean, back in the day, we used to jam stuff in a room, but it would take like a day to 2 days of like you know, like me living with you for a weekend, and then
basically,
we maybe get 1 or 2 good songs, and we get like good instrumental parts and whatnot, and it kind of taught us what we could and couldn't do. But then, you know, since we like moved further apart, and you know, just sitting in the comfort of your own home and having your own tones and whatnot, and being able to hear everything perfectly, sending it to you, and then like the next day or even the same day, you come back with like some drums to it, be like, cool, and you can hear everything clearly. It totally just, I don't know, I'm all for that method of writing, because it kind of like cuts out the BS and lets like you work on your own without anybody looking over your shoulder, and me working on my own, and you can totally just get the feedback and whatnot. But as far as the EP goes, I think that kind of got instigated after COVID started, because we were in the final processes of doing a previous EP, which was a collection of songs that we had, and we were, I think you and Greg were in the studio doing vocals, and the studio got shut, and we were kind of like sitting there going, well,
I was getting, we were all getting a bit antsy, and we didn't know what to fucking do, because I mean, what else? What do you think we're meant to do? It's a completely new situation.
Yeah. But like the guitars and bass for that piece of work was done in my house, so I knew that I could do an entire EP in my house, albeit going around like, you know, cooking, cleaning, or just, you know, work and whatnot. I could do it late at night in the comfort of my own home, and it sounded good. So I can't remember if it was you. I actually can't remember who suggested it. We were just like, well, let's just.
It was me
from home.
I think
it was
you and oh, sorry, no, you were, I think, on the fence a little bit, because you were like, but we still got this one. I mean, I would like to finish this one, but it would be really cool to start new material, because it's material that we'd been playing live for what, a year that or something at that point. But Greg was I think Greg was the most reserved out of it. He was like, "No, I've got all these things. I want to finish this." But
yeah,
I think I managed to twist his arm a little bit.
Well, it's not just that. It's like the EP that didn't get finished, and we played those songs, and we knew what those songs could do, and you know, like, kind of got good reactions, bad reactions, whatever. But like, you know, I think we were all kind of like just apprehensive. You're like, oh crap, you know, we're going to be stuck in our houses for X amount of time. We're not going to be able to see each other. Can't do this, can't do that. And I think the idea of just doing something new, and with these brand new like emotions and worries that everything was coming out, it kind of, I wouldn't say it fueled the EP, but kind of like helped. And then the funny thing is about Count Havoc Among Our Sins, the single is the only song that wasn't written the way the rest of the EP was, which was like, you know, me doing guitar demos and sending them to you. That song was written by you sending me a song's worth of drums, like literally just a drum track to a song. And you were like, dude, write something to this that fits what these markers. And so like verse here, chorus here. And it really kind of like threw me off. I'm like, this is like, you know, like if I was going to write a song, it wouldn't do this and it wouldn't do that, what you've done here, but I'm kind of like forcing me to work in a different way. So then, you know, I kind of got stuck on it. I worked on something else, came back, and I'd literally just watched like 4 live Slipknot shows. And I'm like, right, fuck this. What would Dimebag and Mick Thompson do if they were in a band together? And basically kind of came up with all these
if they had sex, what would their love child play on guitar?
Pretty much, yeah. So like that, so like the main riff kind of came from me just like messing around with shapes, and I was like, okay, that sounds cool. I'll just track that, and then it kind of just like track this, track that, track that. But the funny thing is, what section am I thinking of? After the final chorus, the last two riffs or last two sections were written, or actually were, I came up with those parts and recorded them in the space of about 10 minutes before I had to go to work. And I just kind of recorded them and sent them to you, and they were completely perfect. I had the right tones and I had the right, everything. I was just like, right, fuck it.
This sounds like you're tooting your own horn a little bit here, sonny boy.
Aye. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, I was really worried I'd have to redo it, and then I'd forget how to fucking play it. So like when we finished doing all that and I was mixing it, I was spent half the time mixing it, going, right, what the fuck am I playing here? Forgotten how to fucking play this.
Well, if you don't remember, I sent you the drum tracks, and you had played over them, and you had mixed up the choruses and the verses and stuff like that.
Yeah, the
So
first
I
time you sent
redone
me
it.
the file, I didn't have any markers, so I kind of just tracked it, and I didn't really know where the parts were. And then
But I think
you gave it back and be like, dude, this is wrong. Do it again.
I think I said that at first. Actually, I was just completely like, nah, fuck off. No, I'm not having this. But then I think after a while, just listening to just the guitar tracks, I was like, this has actually got some really good potential. I don't think it ended up being the full version of Count Havoc Among Our Sins. I think there were some parts that were changed here and there. I could be wrong.
Oh yeah, it was
about that.
definitely trimmed down. Like all the fat was trimmed off that song, so it was literally just like 100 miles an hour song.
But the drums that
yeah.
I recorded to it are actually, well, okay, disclaimer, right? What I did at first, I played the drums and then I was having a bit of difficulty with it. That's all I'm going to say in the matter, right? We all know that it's a metronome problem.
Yeah.
So I was having a little bit of difficulty with it. Then I'm like, okay, I know how to play my parts. I'm just going to draw them in. So I drew them in. And before I actually sent them to you, I played them on my drums, made sure I could play them on the drums. Because imagine if I couldn't play them on the drums. It'd be fucking embarrassing, wouldn't it? So I did all that. And then I sent it to you. And it ended up, all those drum tracks are the first demoed drum tracks and also the final drum tracks, which is quite interesting actually, because I would say the drums are the least what's the word, progressed, if that makes sense. Like they didn't get added upon or get like little flourishes put on top. They just basically, here's the drum parts, here you go.
Yeah,
and that was it through.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, when the way we usually would do demos, it would be like you would just play on an electric drum kit and put that over a demo, and then we take it from there. And we've previously done drums in the studio, like old school.
Yeah.
But because of COVID, you kind of had to work with what you had, and your electric drum kit had seen better days.
Yeah, my laptop had started. What's a good word? Yeah, basically, it just was like COVID, and just decided no, holiday.
So yeah, I think when you drew the drums in, it kind of made my life easier because it's just like you can't argue with drums that are perfectly matched to a metronome. And you can get people who are like, oh, you used samples or you used drawn in drums. You're like, well, what the hell else are you meant to do? It's going to sound the same either way.
It's a very what's the word, like
hot topic.
Yeah, it's a very, very hot topic. Like it was kind of taboo for me to even talk about samples around me a couple of years ago, because I was like, no, because I know if we had like the perfect setting, we could like record drums with both of our experience and have them sound good with no samples at all. But it's just that it would also take the extra week or 2 weeks to be able to make that.
It's not just that. It's just like when we've recorded drums previously in the past in a studio, you got good drum sounds out of it, but like it wasn't.
It's always missing something.
Capture. Yeah, it wasn't properly not engineered. So it's like, like mic placements weren't exactly where you would get, like say on a kick drum to get that really nice analog sort of click sound.
Yeah.
And then you kind of have to like bastardize it in order to get what you wanted out of it. And by the end of the day, like once you finish that, you've kind of like just killed the character of the drums. So
Yeah,
it's just like, and plus we wanted to really just get an EP out because we hadn't released anything since
War
War Torn.
Torn. Yeah, and that was
So we were just like,
2000.
let's just get something done.
Was that 2018 or 2019?
That came out in 2019.
I
Can't
could,
remember. It came out ages ago.
yeah, it came out ages ago. I'm actually going to look up right now because I do not want to get this wrong. This is going to be very embarrassing if I get it wrong. Oh my god.
I think it might have been 2018. Now that I think
I
about it. Or
thought about it was 2018 because I thought what's its face thingy was out in I was 2019. Monster Me was out in 2018. War Torn was in 2019. Sorry, just looked up there. So that's very interesting. We both kind of thought.
it seems longer ago than it obviously was.
Yeah, a lot of stuff's happened within the politics of the band, like just member changes, like a lot of big decisions, like getting a manager and trying to get around that, and the difficulty of gigging as well. You know,
Yeah.
like a lot of just internal decisions that we needed to make for the betterment of the band, like that. You know, especially
Yeah.
getting Jay, like, oh my god, we would still
Yeah.
be in.
Kudos to him.
Like, I think I don't know who it was about that said about manager. It might have been Greg or you. I'm not very sure.
I think it might have been me because I noticed that Nishima
Yeah,
had gone with Reaction, and I'm
that's
like,
what I was gonna say.
they went with Reaction, and they played like the big stage at Download Festival. I'm like, they were with management a couple of months, and then they got to play such a massive stage. I'm like, I want to do that. Let's just do
Oh
what
yeah,
they're doing.
I mean they got in like Triple G Music and stuff like that. It was their, they were just huge. It was unreal. And then you've got us. We've come from absolutely sweet fuck all, and yet even though it's still really really bad time for bands, especially right now,
Oh yeah,
we're still progressing, and Jay's kind of helped us find that find our way throughout this difficult time. And it's just it just seeing the whole train flow. I mean, it's a rocky start like any journey, but as more we get along it, it's just like we're gonna do this. We're gonna fucking
yeah.
do this.
Thanks, Jay.
Jay, you are amazing. I love you so much.
He's gonna have a dig at you for that later.
Yeah, probably he's gonna call me Lars or something, some shit like that. It's
Yeah.
gonna be mad.
But no, it's just like as far as the EP goes, it was an interesting and it was a new process, but it also showed us what we were comfortable in doing. So like songs that I presume we can say song titles are coming out. If not,
yeah, no,
cheeky
song
sneak preview.
titles. They've already been released on magazines and stuff like that, so you
Aye,
can just
but
say. I just don't
song,
give anything away, really.
I don't know, but songs that were like songs like Rebirth, which were like kind of like just me getting like my techie, like my love for tech metal and gent. I was kind of just getting that out and be like, right, I really want to do this song. And then like as it didn't kind of sound the way I wanted it to, and then as soon as the vocals got put on it and the tribulations that came with getting the vocals done
Mm.
and the learning curve that came with doing the vocals for the EP was, it was exciting because like obviously you and Greg did the vocals on your own and way off in isolation, then just sent me the tracks.
Yeah,
And yeah, it's like the first song you did had maybe like the way you did vocals was like a phrase or a line at a time, and then each line was on a separate track. So
it was difficult to be in separate houses. The Greg and I being in separate houses, and also recording at the same time. So
yeah,
I mean, when I was surprised when you had first got the the tracks and you were like, "Yo, this is amazing."
yeah. I mean, it was really interesting. But like the first song you guys sent me, I think it was Trigger the Silence.
Yeah,
Had
it was a bit
70 vocal tracks. It had 70 vocal tracks because each line was on a separate track, which actually works in my favor because if I wanted to put a specific effect on one line, it was easier to do rather than put tons of automation and have tons of automation tracks.
I think what you're talking about, the 70 vocal tracks, was The Human Condition.
No, that was
So I had the most.
Trigger the Silence had 70 vocal tracks in total. after the chorus was sort of rejiggled to be the way it was, and after Greg had redone a couple of vocal tracks I'd asked for him, because
We had
I
to
don't know, it's
redo
just
the
like,
whole freaking song.
yeah, there was a couple of vocal tracks, and you're like, this is good, but if you want it to sound amazing,
Yeah.
you know, like you got to get the performance. So like you guys redid it. I eventually ended up with 70 vocal tracks. Human Condition has over 100 vocal tracks.
Oh, damn.
It's beyond ridiculous. So like the sessions are gigantic. So when I open them up on my computer's like, right, you might want to go away, make a cup of coffee, and come back.
Just has
There's
elevator
all this.
waiting music, just like take fives playing in the background, you know, do 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 do.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much how it happens. Yeah, but like it was different because I'd never mixed vocals of that caliber and that way. But because you know what you're doing with recording side, you're not an amateur, so you kind of got the best performance out of yourself and Greg, and then trusted me to mix it. So you know, it was a learning curve for all of us, but the result was pretty damn good, I would like to say.
I honestly, if we were given more time and more, if we had a lot more money to spare, we could have made it as amazing as, you know, all these other bands. But to be honest, with what we had, it sounds pretty damn professional, I must say.
Well, that's the thing. I'm a tweakaholic, so like if
Yeah,
it wasn't released, if I was given more time, I would just go back and tweak things for the sake of tweaking them, and then probably the next day tweak them back to their original form.
but that's like
So I'm kind of
that's the
glad that there
curse,
was
isn't
a
it?
deadline.
That's
Well,
the engineer's curse.
there was a deadline though, because it kind of
Mm,
forced me like I need to get this good by this time. You know, it kind of kicked me in the ass to do it. I wasn't lazy about it, so I kind of like had a really good work ethic towards it. You know, pat
mhm.
myself on the back. But you know, like the end, like it's supposed to be a DIY EP, and our first
Yeah.
attempt at that. You know, if it sounds completely perfect, you know, that either you're really damn good or something's wrong. You know, it's
I
not supposed to sound polished.
no. I mean, I think that's the part that makes it so perfect. Is the imperfect nuances of it. Like you can
Oh
hear
yeah.
the background buzzes in the vocals, sure. So it's kind of like got that old punk kind of vibe, you know,
Well,
with that.
thanks to a hum eliminator, I got rid of most of
Yeah,
the buzz.
it's insane that you can. But I mean, when I listen over the tracks, maybe because I recorded them and I kind of know where, you know, each one comes in. I can just hear that little bzzz of when the
Well,
vocals come in. I'm just like, oh no, oh
well,
dear
there's
God.
Easter eggs. There's Easter eggs all over the EP
Yeah,
of like little vocal blips or guitar blips. You know, like I wonder if anyone's ever going to notice those.
there's which one is it? Is it in Trigger the Silence? It's near the end of Trigger the Silence. There's
You mean
one.
the oops moment?
Yep. And if anyone
Yeah.
finds it, please tell us, and you will win a prize of one high five after
Oh no!
COVID.
If somebody can come and give me the exact time and location and track that little Easter egg is on, I will give them a free merch bundle.
Right, we're not made of money, right?
Oh no! If somebody can hear that, I'll be like, right, you can come in and engineer for me because your ears must be fantastic.
Okay, you know that's fair right there. Yeah, that should be the reward. You know, you can mix one of our songs for free, and if it's
I'd love to see what somebody else would do with that kind of stuff. You know,
you just want to be
interesting.
sitting out the back, just like I don't need to mix. Yes.
See, when I was mixing that EP, I was going to bed with the waveforms embedded on my eyelids. It was,
Oh, I mean,
yeah.
it took you altogether. It took you what, 4 weeks of mixing?
Some I wouldn't know. No, well, I was mixing as I went. So like I was mixing as soon as I get vocal tracks, and then so like I would mix. You know, like I would get one song 1 week of vocals and mix that. Then next week, next song, and then once they were all done, I would go back over them and mix them again
Yeah.
to make sure they were kind of all on par. You know, like I was getting better at mixing the vocals and more used to them. So I was making sure that the first lot were as good as the last, and then I mastered them. But maybe you're right. Maybe about a month to do everything.
It
You
was,
know,
I
it was
mean,
fun.
some people take double that amount of time or even triple to make it sound half as good. So I'll give you every single bit of credit that you should get for it. It sounds amazing, it feels amazing, and every single time you listen to it, it's not kind of like, oh yeah, it's that song. You feel the same way every single time you listen to it. Even You know, when you go to when you go to college and stuff like that, you learn to switch yourself off and listen to it just from just a listener's point of view rather than the person who's recorded. And me and you both have went to college, so we know how to do that.
Yeah.
And when I was just doing that, I mean, it was just every single time it would just, you know, fully get to me. And I've listened to songs with bare bone mixing and then final mixes and masters. And every single time I went on, you just made it feel so, the only word I can really use is alive. It felt real. It really took you on that spiritual journey. That's the only real word I can use, is a spiritual journey. I'm not so much in the way of a spiritual guy, but it had all the right elements for me personally. And obviously with a lot of the reviews that we've got as well, other people think the exact same, which just makes my point even more concrete. You've done not just an amazing job doing the guitars and, you know, all the way through, but the mixing is unparalleled to any that I've heard with the equipment that was used. So 100% well done, and I'm really mega proud of you for being able to do that.
Well, no, I can't take all the credit. I mean, you know, most of the work is in the performances, and the vocals are by far the most impressive part of most of the EP. So I would definitely say like you and Greg did a killer job, but I'm just glad that, you know, like our stubbornness
paid off.
My absolute stubbornness to use my live rig to record the guitars was that it worked, because I was so against, like, it's kind of hypocritical of me saying, you know, like, you use program drums, and I was so against using like VST amps and stuff. I was like, no, I'm using my real amp on these pedals and all that crap.
I mean, in a perfect world, as I said, we would be setting up my 2 bass drum kit, you know, with 4 toms and 2 floor toms and 50 cymbals and 12 zill bells.
Enough that if I walk into the room with an electromagnet, you know, it's enough to cause an avalanche.
Yeah. In fucking Sweden, probably. That's how bad it will be.
It just looked like a scene from one of those Saw movies where one of the traps gets activated.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty freaking much. So
yeah.
Now we've talked a lot about, you know, we'll come back to the EP in a wee while, but we've talked about the single, we've talked a little bit about you, but I want to talk more about your history with music and when you felt about music. So when I've asked Greg the same thing, when was the first moment, the exact first moment that you realized you wanted to be in a band? Like, was it a song? Was it an album? Was it just looking at someone that said they were in a band before even listening to proper music, being like, I want to be like him? So what was that really fueled you?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, the answer to this is probably like the cringiest of all and probably the most said. But I can actually remember the moment exactly. My mum took me up to the Isle of Skye to go on a harp building course, if you can believe that.
Harp?
Because me and her used to play the Clarsach, so there was this course that you'd go on and you could make a harp from scratch. And we were doing that, and it was at Salmarostig up in Skye, and the class was being taken part. The building part was in the student mess hall, I guess is what you would call it. It was kind of like a porter cabin with like a PS4, or no, it would have been
a PS4. Damn.
It would have been a PS.
Where were they hiding the fucking DeLorean?
No, it would have been a PS2 or 3 or something like that. It was very smooth looking. I don't think it was a PS3.
It was probably a PS1 or a PS2. Because PS3 didn't come out until I was like 14. No, 12 or something like that, you know.
Either way, it was a shitty games console. But you know, like I remember, you know, I was kind of getting bored with just like, you know, making a harp, because I wasn't really into that sort of thing. I was kind of like doing it to appease my mother.
Yeah.
And I remember I went I just kind of started. I don't know. I don't know if I'm getting in trouble for saying this, but I started rooting through all the student stuff that they'd left in there. It was during the holidays, and I remember I kind of like, you know, when nobody was looking, I kind of picked up the balls to turn on the PlayStation and be like, oh, I wonder what's in here.
Hi, Isle of Skye Police. Yeah, we've got
yeah, Yeah, I probably shouldn't be saying this, but I remember I turned it on and there was a CD inside, and it was the Black Album by Metallica, but I didn't know that at the time because the CD was so old and degraded. Like the Metallica logo had gone, and you could
Ah.
only, so it was the CD, and I never heard it before. And Enter Sandman comes on, and I'm like, I must have heard it on the radio beforehand, but I was kind of like, my ears immediately pricked up, and basically sat there during a lunch break of this harp building course, like this long-haired, sweaty teenager, like rocking out to this music. So before we left, I stole the CD and went home.
I always thought you stole that CD from either an actual shop or your friend. So
No,
you've painted it a whole new light. You're just an
stole it from
absolute
some poor
wanker
student.
now. You're not just a thief,
Yeah.
you're a wanker too.
Somewhere in the UK, someone's going to listen to this and be like, that absolute,
that's mine.
Yeah, thanks whoever you were. Yeah,
free CDs.
I kind of graduated from there, and I was obsessed with Enter Sandman. So going into high school, this is during the age before, I guess downloads were a thing, but this is while CD
LimeWire
trading was still a thing.
Oh god.
No, it wasn't even that. This is when CD trading was still a thing. So people would give me, I would ask them, like I would flick through their iPods and be like, oh, if you've got this on CD, can you just burn me a copy? When people still had disc drives. And so like a friend of mine gave me all the Avenged Sevenfold albums, but he burned them in reverse. So like the first song was the last song. So it was kind of cool.
I remember you saying that, yeah.
And then a friend of mine gave me All Hope Is Gone by Slipknot, and I think I wore that out. So this must have been like 2008-ish that I started doing this. And then I used to play in a brass band, and the person who used to give me lifts home burned all her Aerosmith.
You played
CDs,
the trumpet, right? You played the trumpet, a black trumpet.
I had a black trumpet, but I played the cornet because that was more brass band.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that, actually.
Yeah, I hated that thing. And,
trust me, everyone who listens to it hates it as well.
Yeah,
I can see that from
I was
Jack's
good at
band.
it, but I hated it. So that's why I moved to saxophone afterwards. But yeah, so like the person who gave me, the woman who gave me lift home would burn her Aerosmith CDs, her Guns N' Roses. I would ask her, do you have this? Do you have that? From like listening to compilation albums. And I remember like I first got introduced to Alice Cooper, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, all these kind of great, the big bands, and then worked my way backwards. So I worked my way backwards to like Thin Lizzy, early AC/DC. I worked my way back to like the ZZ Top, and but the thing is, I would listen to these bands and I wouldn't know who they were because there was no. It would just say track 1 or track 2. So I would just listen to them, and then I would have to like go on the internet and type in, like, song that has sharp dressed man in the lyrics, and then trying to find the video on YouTube. And like, oh, this is this band, and so I kind of discovered it a weird way. But no, it's like definitely the nicking of the Metallica CD. That was my golden moment.
I must say I'm very disappointed in you, but I'm also extremely fucking proud.
Look, the thing is, I had a bit of a problem because I was like a very acty out teenager, so like stealing things was kind of like my thing.
Yeah, you became a little bit of a klepto, didn't you?
Yeah, I kind of did. I remember I stole somebody's iPods from high school, and I just never returned it. I stole 2 iPods from high school, actually.
Do I know about one of these iPods? Is this one of the iPods that you had when I first met you?
No, that iPod Classic was a gift from a friend of mine, and I mean it. That was actually a gift. I didn't pinch it from him.
All right, enough.
Yeah,
You
one.
had like 8,000 worth of songs, even crap ones. Like
it was an old iPod Classic, and it was the one that they made for a really short time, the 180 gigabyte one, and it had like. I'm really ashamed to admit this, but it had like Five Finger Death Punch, Devil Driver, Bullet for Valentine.
Hey.
Like, this is when it was acceptable to listen to Five Finger Death Punch. The hot topic they are now. But no, it was just like, so I basically, through my student years, listened to that iPod until it basically fell apart because I repaired it twice by replacing the headphone jack.
My God, Jesus!
Like the play button didn't work, so in order to stop it, you had to take the headphones out. So I was
you had to take the headphones out and pray to God that it would work again. It's like, please be God.
Yeah. And because it was a friend of mine's, I didn't have the iTunes account to get the music off of it because Apple's just built that way. So yeah, so once
especially on the olden days,
heartbroken.
Oh
yeah,
man. Okay, so
pretty much.
Moving on from that, what about the first band you were in, or first project that you had? Do you remember that?
When I was in high school, I had um, from about primary 6 onwards, I played in like jazz ensembles and stuff like that. But that was kind of like, like the toll booth and whatnot. But like a band that I made myself, this is really embarrassing.
I'll go for it.
I was oh god, I can't remember how old I was. I must have been about 13 or 14. Played at the Battle of the Bands in high school, and I only wanted to play it because Alistair, our former guitar player who I went to high school with, I wanted to play with him, but he was playing in another band on bass, and I kind of already signed myself up with no band. So I kind of like had to scramble for some friends or anyone who could play bass and drums. It was kind of like my two needs. So I found a friend of mine who could play bass, who was actually a really good bass. What's his name? It was Callum. I can't remember his last name. And he had a pal in this is really bad, but there was a kid in S1 who could play the drums really badly, but he could still know his way around a drum kit. So we played "For Whom the Bell Tolls" by Metallica and Seven Nation Army.
I mean, if
And
Lars can play it, if Lars can do it, I'm sure he could as well.
Oh, it was terrible. It absolutely god awful. Like I tried my best to be James Field. I had this cheapy black flying V. I had a black shirt, the sweatbands, the long hair, everything. And I forgot the words to the Seven Nation Army, so I decided just to go yeah, like Hetfield did. It was
yeah.
pretty much. It was horrible.
Oh, that sounds freaking horrific.
So yeah, yeah, that was like the first time I'd ever gone on stage playing that kind of music, and but I would probably say the next one after that was probably Crimson Mistress. That was the first proper one. I mean, obviously I jammed with other people and guested on stage and done my own sort of stuff like up in Orkney, but proper like band was Crimson Mistress.
Talk us through the infamous naming that is Crimson Mistress that I'd known absolutely nothing about, and I was the drummer. So talk us through that. Like you'll have to remember
this because I've drank way too much since then to remember this properly.
Yeah, me too. Because it actually happened a few years before you met me. Technically, you had the name and you had like a lot of ideas, but it's either you couldn't get a band together or you were halfway through getting a band together and it kind of fell apart.
No,
is that right?
I never even got anywhere near off the ground. So the back story is I lived on the island of Hoy in Orkney, which is an island off of the mainland of Orkney. So, and I lived right at the southern tip. So I was literally in the middle of nowhere and I had no car and I couldn't get to the mainland very easily. So I decided to write music, and it was kind of like 80s rock style music, kind of like, like the Shredder era of 80s rock. And I was really into female fronted bands. And I was just like, there's not enough like proper female fronted bands. So I decided, like kind of Mistresses were kind of sexy. There was kind of like, powerful. And I really liked the color Crimson. So I kind of like put that together. And then a friend of mine on the mainland, I think I met her like twice. We decided to write a couple of songs together. It never came to anything. So when I moved back down, I kind of still had the Facebook page and all that crap.
You remember her name? Or
no, I don't.
I was going to say, are you not at liberty to tell?
That's the thing. I actually cannot remember her name.
That's sad, man.
Shocking.
That is quite shocking, actually.
That is shocking. I'm terrible with names.
I remember almost everyone I've ever played like music with, but you kind of have to if you've, with the amount of people that I've played with, which is like 12.
Yeah. No, it's so yeah, like I came back down and then I can't remember what happened. I think I joined back up with a couple of friends I'd known before I left. So I came back down and I was kind of like, I think I was cutting about the middle of Stirling at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning with a bunch of friends, kind of like trying to revisit my 18-year-old days of drinking and doing stupid stuff.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine said, "Oh, I've got this mutual friend who's friends with this drummer guy." I'm like, "Okay, cool, right." And kind of like set the ball in motion. I think sent you a friend request or gave me your name or whatever.
I think it was my ex that got into contact with you, and then I was in Lanzarote at the time. I was just turned 16 actually, and it was 6 days. I remember this. It was 6 days before I was meant to come home, and we had started talking. And when I came home, I think you came to mind with the guy I was jamming with at the time, which was Sean Brown, who was an amazing guitarist at the time. But I'll not interject anymore. You can continue that story.
I was just one
So
of those
I like
stories,
your
like I
point of
say.
view
It's
of
just
it.
that, but no, it's oh god, I remember I got told to go to Alva to meet this guy Sean. And when I got told your ages, like I was 20, 21 or something like that. And I
Yeah.
was just like, yeah, there's this 15 and 16-year-old kid. And I'm like, oh God, this is going to be like two little kids on like crappy Argos guitars and Argos drums in like a bedroom. But I'll see what it's worth. So I went and gone and met Sean first, and he had this horrible
BC
looking
Rich, yeah.
BC Rich, this white
It
BC
was always
Rich Warlock.
it was sellotaped with white tape when it had like a dunt in it.
Yeah,
Do you remember
it was
that?
yeah, it was horrifying. Just like, oh, he's one of those guys. But he was into some cool music. He was into like Lamb of God, kind of turned me a
Yeah.
bit more into Lamb of God and stuff. But then we went round to yours. Or no, that's wrong. Actually, I met him on a separate occasion. Then I
Yeah, you
went
met
down to
him
yours on my
first
own.
because I was still in Lanzarote. I think it was like
Yeah,
2 days before I was coming home. And
yeah.
then
And
the day
yeah,
after I came home, I think you got a lift from my ex's mum to
yeah.
my house. And I'll let you continue again.
Okay,
Sorry.
so the story behind that, yeah. So I went into yours and I was like, right, okay, I don't know what this kid can play or whatever. So I grabbed the only guitar I could bring down with me, which is my cherry red Les Paul,
Mm,
which I still have. And I went in
beautiful guitar.
and I opened the door and it's just like there's this big double bass drum, sort of like the drum kit like the Rev had from Avenged Sevenfold. It was beyond stupid. And then behind it is this tiny little kid with like a mop of brown hair and hamster cheeks and all that crap. And I was like, right, where should I plug in? And there's this like Bay Ringer sort
Yeah,
of
combo,
combo amp.
2x12
So
kind of combo, yeah.
yeah, so I plugged in and I went, okay, right, I'm playing a Les Paul. I'll go into like an Angus Young sort of patch and dial it in from there. Made sort of like a heavy tone. It sounded like dog shit, but plugged in. And then you were sitting there and your girlfriend at the time was straddling you because she was like just wanting your attention. She was like a cat. I'm not even gonna lie. It was just like a cat wanting its
It's
owner's
like a
attention.
really abusive cat. That's what it was.
Yeah. So, and you just looked around from her and you're like, right, what do you want to play? I was like, do you know any Five Finger Death Punch? Because I knew how to play Under and Over It. And you're like, yeah, sure. And without even looking, you just started playing Under and Over It, like note for note perfect. And I'm sitting there going, I'm playing this shit in standard. It sounds wrong, but it still sounds awesome. And I was like, okay, right. What about Metallica? And you just straight around to her was like, nope, don't know any Metallica. I was like, right, well, that's kind of half my catalog gone. And then you kind of like, right, this kid's like tiny. He's annoying. He's diabetic. He's
Whoa, diabetes has nothing to do with it. It's good.
well.
Don't attack me like that, man.
20 minutes after meeting you made this weird. Oh, I've got to check my blood sugar. You pricked your finger, like, oh, he's diabetic, and you just like shredded it on the drums. And then I'm pretty sure I joked around, be like, oh, pity you can't play any Slipknot. And then I tuned down to like drop D to play a Slipknot tune.
Oh, a whole drop D. Oh my god.
Shit's embarrassing. And I was like, I can't remember what it was. I think it played stuff off like Psychosocial Dead Memories and like Before I Forget. And like
yeah.
I could play along to the songs on like a speaker, and then you're playing along to the drums. I'm like, motherfucker can play fucking Slipknot tunes. I'd never met a drummer who could do that. I'd always met drummers who'd like just play simple shit, or simple stuff. Sorry, my language. And but it's just like, yeah. Ever since then, we're like, okay, right, this dude can drum. This be interesting. And then kind of since then, I've never actually played with another drummer. It's probably getting to the stage where it's probably unhealthy.
Yeah, probably. You two,
Yeah, no,
we've
find a good drummer, stick with them.
Yeah, well, I mean, what can you say? But I think round about where I am, like in Clackmannshire, I'm kind of the only drummer who's into that kind of sort of music and was that kind of disciplined and stuff like that, and who could play as like that fast.
Yeah,
it's always when I start double bass pedaling like really fast, that people are like, what the fuck was that?
I mean, from where I grew up like in the like 5 miles away in the middle of the forestry tracks near Aberfoyle. So like it was a 3 mile walk to Kinlochard just to go see a friend, right? So I was used to like cycling to bus stops, and like if you wanted to go into Stirling, it took you like 3 hours from my house.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. So like I never played with anyone. I never met up to jam with anyone. I was kind of like just sitting at home listening to all this heavy music. So I kind of totally got where you came from. You're like, there's no one around to play this music with. So when you find somebody who's into that even similar stuff, you're like, right, I'm latching onto you, and I'm never letting you go. A really
Aw.
clingy girlfriend. So
Yeah, I went from an abusive clinging girlfriend to just you. It's just
I'm nicer.
in some ways.
But yeah, like back to the whole Crimson Mistress
Yes.
debacle. It was you know, me, you, and Sean got together, and then I think we got a friend of yours, Rory, on
Yeah,
bass.
it was my best
It's kinda
friend at the time. Yeah.
yeah, and we got kind of good. We could do some Bullet for My Valentine covers, and we wrote some of our own stuff, and you know,
Mhm.
it was pretty good. And we kind of like developed, you know, learned how to lock in with each other, and you know what
I
works
think
and what didn't.
I think it was more you and I locked in with each other. Like we had this
Oh yeah,
most amazing ability to kind of anticipate when we were going to like change a chord or change a drum pattern or something like that. We could just tell from listening to each other when it was going to happen, and when it happened, if there was someone else in the room, it would just fuck them up completely, like Sean or
oh
Rory,
yeah,
because we would
yeah. It
just
was
be.
definitely
I mean,
definitely some different
I
cool
think
chemistry there.
there's especially with that chemistry, as you said, like there's like if you see us live, I instantly play off of you, and you instantly play off of me, and kind of everyone else just plays off of us, which is
That's pretty true. Yeah, it's just like yeah, like you said, we could basically just start jamming a riff, and then
Mhm.
you're okay, right? I would be like, right, I've got 3 riffs, and then you could kind of like, you know, like psychically know when exactly what part was going to what. So it was kind of cool that way. It kind of cut out a lot of BS of like trying to explain to drummers, right?
yeah,
I want you, you know, like, I need to do this or this. But that project lasted about a
almost
year,
a year and a
almost.
half.
Well, it kind of went through a bit.
No,
You know,
yeah,
we got a vocalist, and then Sean was on vocals, and we got a vocalist, or like we
yeah.
got a friend of mine to sing, and you know, it
It
was
kind
gonna,
of fell
we
apart
never gonna
after
go off the
that.
ground.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
didn't go off the ground because like Sean kind of like discovered weed, and
I mean, he was
weed
already
was
kind of into that, but I mean, he had discovered it a bit
too
friendly.
heavily.
Yeah, he had gotten into a heavy part of that, and then a lot of personal things happened between Rory and I, which
Yeah.
we're not going to get too into because I'll start fucking crying.
Okay, right. So not to badmouth anyone, but as I say, it was one of those stereotypical things where like you
Mhm.
know like that something else was more important than your music or whatever, and
Yeah.
it sounds really patronizing or you know like blowing smoke up my own backside to say this, but it's just like I've been in so many projects or like played with so many people where like either if I was playing with other bands or whatever, and
Mhm.
they themselves are having the turmoil. Oh, he's just every time he turns up, he's either stoned or drunk, and it was like I was kind of experienced that firsthand with Sean. Not
Yeah.
to badmouth him or anything. Like I'm sure
No,
he's
no.
fine now because he's probably grown up, but you know,
Yeah, let's just leave it. This was a huh.
it is what it is. But it's just
Yeah,
like
I mean, it just was.
I'm not gonna dress
Yeah.
it up. You know, it's just kind
No,
of one of those things.
I mean, I saw him about 6 months ago, and we had a civil conversation, and didn't leave on good terms because of it was misunderstanding after misunderstanding, and it kind of became a very versus kind of show between. Well, I'm not going to put you in the middle of it because you were just trying to kind of be like, dude, don't want any fucking thing to do with this. I'm sticking with you because you're the drummer and I love you a bit, but I'm not going to get in the drama. And I kind of accepted that, but it just went way off the rails, and just I think that was the real downfall of Crimson Mistress.
Yeah,
It was
but
just the
then it's
misunderstandings.
kind of like it was a blessing in disguise because then me and you
Mm,
were like, right, we can make a new project, a new style, a new tuning. Like every time we started a new project together, the tuning got lower and lower,
yeah,
and the
and
music was got heavier. But then me and you tried to form Morgan,
yeah,
and
I
then
still
that was
love
kind of
that
like
name.
a yeah. But then we found out the Children of Bodom released a song called that, and we were like, oh damn it.
There was actually I don't know if it was a Chinese or Japanese band. It was an Oriental band that was called Morgan.
Mm,
It was actually called The Morgan. So I'm like, oh, well,
yeah.
we can kind of just call it Morgan. That'll be all
But
right.
that project didn't last longer than I don't know a couple of months. But then
Yeah.
I can't remember how long it was between Morgan and Arc Arrival. I think it might have been something like upwards to 6 months or something. But
I went to, I was when I started playing for Bittersweet Blasphemy,
yeah,
because I was just getting just destroyed not being in the band that was gigging, so I had started to kind of whore myself out a little bit.
You yourself were the musical prostitute, yeah.
Yeah, so I did a couple of session things with other bands, and I also got a kind of gig in Berserk Blasphemy, who are not a massive band, but they were quite well known in the Glasgow kind of area for the hard rock kind of post-hardcore apparently stuff, which and the guys were pretty awesome. They were really accepting of me being so young, which is, I was 17 roundabout, and if you're not 18 in Scotland and you become a member of a band, you're not going to get fucking gigs, which is a downfall, I would say, of just the whole scene. I don't know how you feel about that, but definitely being objectified like that, it's very demeaning, because I had the skill of people who were 2 or 3 times my age, yet I couldn't play those clubs.
I mean, I remember trying to play in bands and play in places and then be like, you're too young. So I knew that from when I was younger, but no, I get where you're coming from. It was kind of like a musical dry spell because I was going through stuff myself, and then we kind of came back together and formed Dark Arrival. And it was me, you, and Brian. And Brian was into like much more of the more modern stuff.
We won't say last names or anything like that. Just
say first names. It's totally fine. But no, it's Brian turned me onto a lot of stuff that was more modern, like kind of like architects, monuments, like the Gen Z stuff. So like that kind of spurred me on to be like, oh my god, this is whole universe of guitar I'd never heard before. So it kind of spurred on from there. And after lineup changes, like Brian left and we had lineup changes and blah blah blah, kind of landed us where we are now. Because I remember we were looking for a vocalist and we kind of just found this post on a random musician's.
Oh, you did, yeah.
Yeah, I remember just scrolling one night and be like, this guy's got, I'll just check him out. I checked his goddamn profile picture and it looked like Ollie Sykes way back when in like 2009 or something like that, with this kind of Justin Bieber hairstyle. You'll kill me for saying that. But,
he'll kill both of us for saying both of these things. And Justin Bieber mixed with either a scene Wayne or a goth.
Yeah. So like and then we threw him an audition. But we had a couple of songs. We were getting better. We were writing this newer style of music, which is kind of what we play now. It's like this more modern, aggressive, technical.
It was
style
like
of music.
A bridge towards our old stuff and our new stuff, because I think we didn't know how to write anymore, because your style had changed so much and my style hadn't changed so much.
But I'd grown away from the whole jamming in a room, the old school version of doing it. I was very much a fan of like, do a demo at home on your computer, and then you're like, right, if I send this to someone, at least I know they're getting the full representation, rather than a noisy practice room where you're like, yeah, I've got this riff and it comes across as fuzz. So it was just like we gave him an audition. I remember, like Greg had never heard of us before, never listened to anything that we'd done before, and he kind of like, he was like, okay, play through a couple of stuff, and he kind of sat in the corner, like, and he had this really grumpy, sort of like doomy look about on his face,
his little goatee.
And I was just like, is this guy into this? Is this guy got an issue? And then he came in, and then I remember he kind of decided, like, we played a song, and then we played it again, and he joined in, just like improvising words, and I was just sitting there going, what the hell? Obviously the word wasn't hell, but it was just like, Jesus, like this guy's got some
holy
pent up energy. And I was just like, I like this guy. He looks the part. He's from around here. He's got the same kind of patter as us. And I was just like, and he's not got LSD. It's just kind of like,
I want to say that is lead singer's disease. No,
yeah, he didn't pull an Axl Rose within 15 minutes, so it's just like, he didn't come in and be like, oh yeah, I like this and I like that. He kind of like, right, he was very open-minded about it. And I kind of been like, I just, he's just a really good vocalist and a great frontman and just a really good pal overall.
I mean, I said this last week, and I've said it so many other times. I feel so proud to be behind him on stage, just seeing him absolutely tear it up. Even though I can't really hear like the audience and stuff like that, you can just tell by how much energy he's giving. That
he gives 100% every time.
110%. I mean, I think if he's having a bad day, he might only give like that only like 100%, but usually 110 to 200%. He goes beyond what vocalists do nowadays, which is kind of what we needed, because we're extreme Scottish, I suppose, but not extreme metal, but how we act, it's very extreme on stage.
Well, that's the thing. I think because me and you kind of grew up on like that kind of
Yeah,
post '90s era of music. Like we'll
definitely.
forget about the 2000s because the music in the early 2000s was deplorable. So like the
It was
'90s era music
amazing.
thing, it was god awful. So like the music from things like Pantera, Slipknot, Korn, you know, like these big '90s bands were new metal, basically new metal or
Yeah,
extreme metal. You know, like the live shows are just insane. So it's just like came from that era of like you had to give up, you had to be sore after a show to know
yeah,
that it was good. And Greg just kind of
100%.
fit right into that. And you know, like at the moment we don't have a bass player yet because our previous one left due to like just falling out of love with heavy music, I guess.
Oh, we missed you, Susan. I mean,
Oh, I totally miss you, Susan. I'm being serious when I say that, by the way.
no, we're all being serious. We absolutely love Susan. You know, we're still on really good terms with him. But you know, I think he's wanting to do like some country stuff now, and honestly, I hope he really does well, because he deserves it. He's an amazing musician, and I
Oh
absolutely
yeah,
love him to
he's got
pieces.
some good creative muscles in there. But
It's
no,
sad
it's
that he
just like
couldn't stay
yeah,
with us, but we understood. It was very, understood. We just
it was
understood.
amicable. Yeah, but yeah, it was good. It's just like we had some good times with him. I remember like when we first asked him to join, be like, yeah, we've got like we need a bass player. And we got 2 weeks before a show. If I send you like some crappy videos of me playing bass to songs, can you learn them? And he learned them. And then he like I thought he was gonna be like every other bass player I played with, where he'd be like kind of shitty.
Mm.
And then he can like just started headbanging and running around. I'm like, dude, this guy's insane.
He's
So it's
just
just like, yeah,
oh
finding another bass player who can keep up with it. Like, I'm not trying to say that to sound big headed.
no,
Like,
no,
we're not hard to keep up with musically, but like live, we just kind of like let loose. You know, like we all
yeah.
have things in our lives where you just want to, like, I
That's
really want to like feel like punching something right now. You just
yeah.
let it out.
That's one of the things I always say when I'm asked a question, like say off of a random person about what we're like live. I'm like, you cannot explain what we're like live. You need to experience it. We can say, oh yeah, we run around, we headbang, but that's not even the half of it. We are crazy on the stage. We cannot tell you what happens, because every single time is different. Like, it could be from you not being able to tune properly, me just getting the entire crowd just to shout mag, 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 or drum
I'm not gonna lie,
solo.
that was fun. It was a
Yeah,
okay. The incident you were referring was the gig at Nice and Sleazy's
yeah,
earlier this year, and we were playing this venue, and the venue was so badly organized. You know, like there was nowhere to store your stuff. So
yeah,
like my guitars were sitting like kind of just next to the audience, who were like like beer and water and stuff. Okay, so I took my guitars on the stage and tuned them up and then put them back so I could use them later. Picked up the 7 string and realized that the 7 string had been sitting next to a heater, or like a pyro, not a pyro, but like one of those heated fume making thing. I don't know, it's like a smoke machine.
mm.
And it had basically heated up my guitar. So I plugged it in. I'm like, oh Jesus, this thing is horribly out of tune. So I retuned it, and then later realized that somebody had spilled something in it. So I'm like, this is just my worst nightmare.
I didn't know
So
that. Jesus.
yeah, it's like somebody had put gum and spilled some beer on my pedal board. It was our first time using the wireless units, and I'm like, this is gonna go swimmingly. But yeah, we did the show, and it was actually kind of fun. It was just like
It was a great show, yeah. I mean,
this was like halfway through me getting all my legendary pickups and putting them in like my multiple Ibanez guitars. It was just like this is gonna take a while. But yeah, there's like that show was not fun. Basically, like it was a good show, but there was so many technical difficulties on my end that I was just like more concerned of like, am I even being heard, rather than
we
having a good
made
time.
the best out of, like, that's one of the things we always do. If there's something wrong, something bad that's happening, it's like, say a symbol of mine falls, or something like that happens, or someone's cable cuts out, then we always just try and make the most of the
Keep going, yeah.
situation. Yeah, keep
Well,
going,
I
laugh
think at
about
least
it.
at every show you have knocked over one of your cymbal stands or
Yep.
hi hat stands or something, like something's fallen over. But this very particular occasion, I remember that we were using some, like the way my rig is made up is like I have a DI signal coming out my amp that goes to the PA, and then the the speaker cable goes to a cab, so I can hear myself on stage. So I have
Mhm.
stage volume and PA volume. And the cab that I was using, I think it must have been like broken or something. But like every single time, like you palm muted something, you just hear this high pitched whiny noise, and it was just like it was like feedback, but it wasn't feedback. So I was like, right, I'm
When
gonna
was
unplug
where
the.
was this?
This was at the Nice and Sleazy's gig, so I
Oh,
told the guy, right,
really?
I'm gonna unplug the. I'm gonna unplug the cabinet. I'm just gonna come out the PA system, and then the guy just. He was one of those engineers that just obviously you could tell he hated anything that changes. So like
Yeah.
obviously we were being more progressive, like the way we set up our rigs and whatnot, and it wasn't completely like the axe effects and everything was done automatically. It was still done by hand or by foot, I should say. And
Yeah.
so he didn't give me enough of my own guitar signal through the monitors. I couldn't hear myself.
All right.
So I played that entire show deaf. I could not hear myself at all. I was like, I'm gonna click this button. I hope it works. I hope anyone can hear me. And I just had this horrible image of like, they're just hearing bass right now, aren't they?
My God. That just sounds horrific, man.
Yeah.
Oh God. Well,
That's my only and worst bad show story. The rest of them have gone off without a hitch.
speaking of shows, my next question for you is: what is your favorite show or gig that you've played? Doesn't have to be with Ark Arrival, but just of all time that you've played.
Ah. Okay, there's two of them. One of
Yeah.
them is for sure the Opium show that we did when we first played Edinburgh when we played with you,
Greg and I
Splendid
both
Halo.
said that as well.
I can't remember what was the other one. It was I can't remember the name of the band that headlined. I'm really sorry about that. They were the ones that they dressed up as monks. But anyway,
yeah, I don't know.
it doesn't matter. But that was the first show I used my legendary pickups on, so I was really excited. We got a proper sound check. The venue was fantastic. The crowd was awesome. Like people
Yeah.
were moshing.
Like there weren't
they
a
were
lot
singing
of
the
people
lyrics
there.
back.
There weren't a lot of people there,
But there
but
was enough people to mosh, and then we moshed
yeah,
afterwards to Mammoths and stuff. But
yeah.
that was a fantastic. Like I just remember leaving there being like, that was a good show.
Mhm.
And my second favorite one, or I guess, is when I was up in Orkney and I played a show with, oh God, was it what were their names? Oh God, I'm terrible with names today.
What do you mean
Mabel
today?
Wong. That was it. No, Mabel Wong is it was a group of guys that I knew from Hoy, and they were playing a bunch of cover songs, and they asked me to join them on their version of Whiskey in the Jar. And I got to start, like, I think I've got a profile picture of that somewhere. I'm just sitting there smirking my face off. And, like Dave Morris, like, he asked me to do it, and like for some reason up there, like drinking is a massive part of the culture. So everyone was completely hammered. We were bashing through these songs, like Foo Fighters, Motorhead, just anything. The bit of the Monkeys as well. And like they were like, right, we're gonna, you want to come up and play Whiskey in the Jar with us? And I'm like, yeah, duh. So
Of
went up and played
course.
Whiskey in the Jar with them, and it was goddamn tastic. I had such a good time. I had such a hangover the next day. It was ridiculous.
But it wasn't that one of those hangovers you're like, oh no, you were kind of like, yeah, I did that. Oh yeah. Oh my God, the pain. But yeah.
It was great. It was just like, it was a proper old school show. It was like, it was no BS. Everyone was just there to have fun, and we did. And it was just like, yeah, that was fun.
Oh,
Even
man.
though like I played the solo in the wrong bit. I played the solo like after like the second verse or something like that, and then realized I had to stop. So I played like a bit of the solo, and then I played the correct solo in the right place.
You've never done that before in Tears Don't Fall, have you?
Yeah, that song has 3 verses, by the way.
We only played it with 2.
No, I'm being serious. I added no, it has only 2 verses, but like the first time we played it live, I added a third one and be like,
Oh, I thought it did actually have 3.
no,
And
it
we
only
only
has 2.
played
I
it
added
2.
another one. We kind of all just went with it, and I think we just repeated the second verse. And I was like,
fuck.
I made a doody.
I didn't even remember that. Oh man. Right. So moving on from, like, say, the live kind of essence of music, behind the scenes, recording and mixing and stuff like that. I know that you went to college, actually the same college I went to, the Forth Valley College in Stirling. I'm right, yeah?
Yeah, I did my
Yeah,
HND there. Yeah,
Yeah,
I went to Glasgow Cali for the rest of it.
the College of Knowledge, as my dad calls it.
It's a university. Leave it alone.
Well, my dad went there as well, and so did my uncle.
Good place.
What is your fondest, worst, moments of recording bands and every single little intricate detail about that, if it was even yourself or if it was something completely different or even if it was practicing or like Foley or stuff like that, anything like that. What was your favorite
there was two
moments?
sides to it. Like in my first year, we always had to the first years we had to record all our own stuff to mix. So I remember being in the audio lounge in Glasgow. Because our lecturer owned the place. Hi George, and we recorded our. I think there's a video of it on Facebook somewhere. We recorded a metal version of "That's What Makes You Beautiful" by One Direction.
Oh fuck me!
And it's so awful, but it's so good. And but no, it's that was probably one of my favorite kind of like spontaneous moments because I'm pretty sure the guy singing changed the lyrics to French or something like that. It was kind of fun. And,
I can just imagine
my second
just
year,
wee wee halfway through, just wee wee baguette, enchanté.
Lionel was awesome, but no, like in my second year, I focused on Foley and applying audio to video, and I basically kind of just enjoyed making my own sounds, being locked away in a studio for 6 hours a day. It was just kind of fun, and that was in Stirling. But then in uni, I kind of focused more on kind of like bigger projects, so working with orchestras, doing more ambient and outdoorsy work, how to like eliminate unwanted sounds, and just kind of like general
You've done
stuff,
rig setting. Sorry, rig settings. That's not what I meant. Live settings, haven't you? Like quite big, like few festivals and stuff like that as well.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it sounds like a bigger deal than it actually was, but it was in 2013. Yeah, 2013. I was doing a work placement over in Hamburg because that's where my family's from. So my dad got his old school friend who worked at a couple of music venues to kind of just apprentice under him for an entire summer, or it was something like 3 months. And I kind of like it was a bit of a mistake to send me there at the age of 18, like literally old enough to drink and go over to where the Reeperbahn is.
The what?
The Reeperbahn. It's kind of like it's in São Paulo, so basically it's like their
Okay,
version.
try and say that in like Scottish.
Saint Pauli, if you want to say
the labor ban.
No, Reeperbahn. It's like this long street where they used to tie the ropes for ships. So it's something like a street that's like 3 or 4 miles long.
All right.
And it's full of like strip clubs, bars.
So it's the red light district.
Well, yeah, the red light district. There, but there was also a lot of metal bars. It was great.
Ooh,
so I was exposed to a lot of good stuff. Like, well, I walked into a place called Lunacy, and they were playing Walk by Pantera, and there's just this dude in the corner windmilling, and there's like a 5-meter radius of people staying away from him because they're gonna get hair whipped.
Yes, but I want to go there now. You've got to take me there.
It's great.
Go to Germany.
But one of the perks of being over there, there was an emergency where one of the sound techs for Wacken Open Air just needed more help, and for some reason the guys I was working with we were available, and I was like, well, I'm not doing anything, I can just come along and help, even if it's just like like carrying cables, carrying spare parts, I don't care what, it's a metal festival. So we went over there,
and it's Wacken,
to the village of Wacken, yeah. And I got to help out on the stage where Nightwish were playing, and I think they were playing with Pain, if I remember correctly.
Could have been.
That was the same festival where Bullet for My Valentine and Biffy Clyro played, if I'm not wrong. I might be wrong. I'm not 100% sure, but I remember definitely Nightwish being there because I remember sitting there behind the sound desk, kind of just like watching what people were doing and watching Nightwish play. And I was just like, I'd never heard of them before, and I'm watching them being like, Jesus Christ.
What was the drummer's name again?
Yuka, yeah.
Yeah. So I remember.
I think you say Yuka, yeah.
So I will. If we're wrong, I apologize. We'll say Yuka, but if we're wrong, we apologize. I can remember you first telling me that story, and I was just fucking blown away because I'd seen like Wacken, and you were like, I was watching Nightwish at that. I think just watching them, and you were like.
Yeah, they did a live DVD of that show, if I'm not mistaken.
They did.
Like that. Or
it was Ghost Love's score, and you were like, "Yeah, I'm like over there behind the scenes," and you were just like pointing about 2 inches over from my phone, like to the left of my phone, and I'm like, "What the fuck? Oh, you were backstage! Oh my god!
No,
what was he like?"
during that particular song, I think you can almost see me, or like I can tell you where I am, but I was asked to run an errand of giving a bottle of wine to the keyboard player, and there was a problem with something with the drums. Like I think the drummer was hitting his drums that hard that they were edging their way backwards or something like that. So in one of the parts, he needed to like scoot forward, but because it's attached to a carpet whatnot, somebody has to hold the carpet in order for them to scoot forward.
Mm.
Or something stupid like that. I can't remember what it was. I think it was like that or a cable issue. But no, I got pretty damn close to like now they're one of my favorite bands. But I wish they were my favorite bands at the time because I would have been like, oh my god.
All I would be, if I saw Nightwish, or if we ever toured with Nightwish, I would just look at what's her face? Which one is
Floor.
it? Yeah, I'd just be like, damn, you a big woman.
That's the thing. Like, she's very tall, but like, see when I watched them perform Ghost Love Score, sorry.
It's one of my favorite tunes of all time. Just with,
like she just went and did off this massive high note at the end, and I like got a react. Like I could tell from the crowd's reaction that like that wasn't normal. Like she was doing something different, and I was just like, damn, she can sing. Like even like amongst all the noise and all the chaos of the whole thing, you could tell like she was a phenomenal vocalist.
Oh
It
yeah,
was just like, damn, she's and like the crowd was amazing.
You have to be an amazing vocalist to be in Nightwish. They've had a few vocal lineup changes, but every single person who's done vocals, they're unparalleled, I think, anyway, in symphonic metal.
Oh yeah. Oh god, yeah. Like the reason I like that festival turned me onto Nightwish, which ended up like bands like Delane, which is a Dutch symphonic metal band.
I mean, I love Delane, but Nightwish will always have a place in my heart.
Of what they do.
Yeah,
they're on top. They're on top of what they do.
I mean,
I only wish I could like talk to like Thomas or something like that, because like he would have been fun to talk to, because he's like he strikes me as like a very kind of down to earth guy, very intelligent, obviously. So yeah,
but I realize now that I didn't actually let you, because I wanted you to tell that story so badly that you didn't actually answer the favorite questions from being behind the mixing desk. What are your favorite moments?
Well, Vakken is obviously like the highlight of just doing any sort of live sound, but I think my second favorite one would be when I was working in this crappy little club, like underground metal club. It stunk. It was disgusting. And this Swedish death metal band came in, and I'd never really worked with a death metal band before, and I was doing the normal sound checks and whatnot. And
was it all high end?
No, it wasn't. It was like they were a decent death metal band. Like they had a good setup, but like I'd never worked with one before. So, and I wasn't really into the whole death metal thing yet. I'd never really got to that far yet. I was like, okay, drums, guitars, bass. Okay, right. Main vocals. And this big, bald Swedish guy just lets off this, like gorilla grill. And I'm like, no, like, are you singing? No? Right. High end's getting turned off.
I've done a lot of things behind the scenes with behind a mixing desk, or sorry, behind a recording desk, but not actually with a lot of live shows. So explain to me about that. Like when someone's doing a scream in a microphone when they're thinking, what kind of do you have to do? What techniques would you do to kind of try and
yell at them not to cup the goddamn microphone? It's like the one thing I do all the time.
Just for anyone listening, what does cupping the microphone do to the tone?
Well, I could demonstrate it, but it'd probably sound like
I was meaning just give
a blanket over a microphone.
Just don't give a demonstration, but give
It just looks all right. For starters, it looks and sounds like the singer is giving the microphone a blowjob. It is ridiculous. It's like they cover up the sides of the microphone, so like only the tip of the microphone is showing. So like the microphone is designed to pick up all the frequencies, and you're limiting it to just the muffly low ones.
So it sounds like you're saying don't let the tip show.
No, it sounds like they've just literally just sat on the microphone and they're yelling at it from above. It's horrible. It's just you're sitting there, like you can tell as soon as the vocalist goes to do sound check and you see the way they hold the microphone, you're like, this can either be a good show or a bad show. And you're watching them and kind of like, okay, are they going to be open to me saying don't do that? or am I going to have the argument of like, no,
Oi,
this is what I like to do. This is how
dickhead.
I get my sound.
Stop it. just pointing at him, just like, yeah, you fucking stop.
No,
I'll kill you.
I've
I'll do
almost,
it.
I've almost left one job because the vocalist was being so difficult, and I've almost got fired from one freelance job because I kept on telling the vocalist, look, trust me, just don't do it. Why do you think your backup vocalist who's playing an instrument at the same time sounds better than you do? Because he's not cupping the goddamn mic. So yeah, I think that's like the one thing that I have to do all the time. But I would probably say using exciter tracks is possibly the best way to get a live performance to sound good over a PA system.
Exciter tracks? Explain what that is.
You
I don't know what
send
that
the
is.
normal track to a separate channel and compress the crap out of it. So you've got a normal one and a compressed one. It kind of just gives it a little bit more flavor.
Right. Got you. Got you. So just like rerouting it to another channel, basically, with
Yeah, it's just,
a different channel chain, kind of, I suppose.
yeah, and you just bust it to somewhere else. Yeah.
Fair enough. So, for the super serious time. So, COVID, how
Yeah.
has that severely, well, in general, how's it held you back from music, personal life? What can you do? What can't you do? You know, how difficult does it make you feel in this time and climate?
Well, for the first lockdown and for the majority of the first part of the pandemic, I was working, so it was kind of all right. I was kind of getting my alone time to like listen to music and crap like that.
Yeah.
It's like going commuting to and from work, but then I sustained a knee injury where like just my knee started to not work. That's a short version. So
Yeah.
I've been off on sick leave for almost something like 5 months or something like that. So I've had a lot of time at home. So like plus side, lots of family time. You know, kind of like they're sick of seeing me and hearing me and smelling me. Upside is like if I want for one evening just to go upstairs, like I don't have to worry about being on a day shift the next day or going to bed at a decent time. I can like go upstairs, plug myself in, and be like, right, I'm gonna write a song or something. So like that aspect is good. Bad aspect is because of my knee, I can't really go out that much.
Yeah.
So I've not really been listening to music because the music I like to listen to, I don't really want to expose my kids to that as much. Like the proper like horror gore music stuff. So like the really disgusting stuff.
You just leave grindcore until they're about 19,
They're never listening to grindcore. They can find that on their own.
I mean, you can listen to all of grindcore in like an hour if you stretch it out, if that's with breaks.
Pretty much, yeah. But yeah, no. So I've kind of like the last wee while I kind of hit a musical dry spell. I kind of like, right, the EP's done. I've mixed it. I heard the songs to death. I mixed them. I mastered it. I kind of like, right, I'm just gonna kind of leave the guitar for a wee while, kind of just take a breather. And then I kind of got back into writing mode. Like the EP is about to just be released, and I'm started writing stuff again. So I sent you a demo yesterday.
Yeah.
So that was like the first probably of many. And the more demos I write, the more technical they become. So probably gonna stop myself from doing that. But plus side is I've been able to just kind of like sit at home and watch YouTube videos of like I love to watch bands in the studio. Be like, oh, that's kind of interesting. It usually sparks off an idea somewhere.
Yeah.
And, but I'm kind of, I'm kind of doing what I normally be doing. Just kind of writing stuff and sending it to you. Albeit I kind of jam it through with you in a room like the next day. But it is what it is. But I know that at some point we'll be able to go back into the rehearsal room and be like, right, well, we've got these 5 new songs written. Let's try and play them. And I get halfway through and be like, I'm lost.
Do you? What about the impact of live gigs? How has that affected you?
Definitely, I'm definitely suffering because of it. Because obviously, like everyone has stresses and negative parts of their life. Like for me personally, I struggle to like accept that a lot of things are out with my own control. So like I'm very particular about like getting up at a certain time, and
you're a control freak.
I'm not a control freak.
Sorry, you're a control freak.
Call it what you want. I call it being organized and being extremely German, but whatever. But like I like things. I know I like things a certain way. So like being at home all the time, like simple little things like I don't know, coming down and realizing that you forgot to do the dishes the night before, and then you've got an even bigger something simple like that. these little tiny bits that add up. You know, gigs would help, being like, right, I'm looking forward to playing a show because I can just let loose and be an animal
Mhm.
or like a maniac for like 30, 45 minutes. And then I can't do that. So I've got to try and keep a lid on, like, you know, just going nuts, really. So that's
Yeah,
where writing helps. But, you know, playing video games helps too. You know, playing Halo and shooting people, that helps too.
yeah. I'm glad you said playing Halo first, because if you just said shooting people, I would have been very worried about you right there. I'm just saying. What about just in general the social aspect of COVID, like going outside, just the simple things like even because a lot like Greg, you've got a dog yourself,
Yeah.
going out for a walk. How does that like affect you? Like, do you
Well,
physically
no,
feel?
I used to get up really early at like 5:30 and take the dog straight out for a walk, like
Mm.
a 20, 30-minute walk so he could get exercise before the kids woke up. But because of my knee, it's a bit more difficult. So dogs may be suffering a little bit because of that. But whenever I take him to somewhere to go for a wee run around, it's like hobble to the field and just let him off the lead and pray to God nobody else comes around with a bigger dog. But
No, there's no dog that could be bigger than your dog. He's freaking
yes, but
massive. He's beautiful.
the small dogs are the problem because they don't
That's
listen to their
true.
owners.
Yeah, Chihuahuas are little shits. We all know that.
They're a snack for my dog.
They're fucking wankers. That's what they are. But
Yeah.
not so much your knee, but the actual pandemic. Like, do you notice a lot of changes just when you walk around? Like, aside from people wearing masks, obviously, is there like people actively trying to avoid you, like, and you feel it affecting you, sort of thing?
Not really, because I'm an introvert by nature and I hate everyone equally.
That's not just a German thing.
It's not a German thing. I just don't like people.
Yeah. So I think that's all the questions I have for you now, Mag. And
Awesome.
I think that's probably going to call it wraps. So I don't know
Awesome.
if you want
Thanks.
to say anything else, maybe about the EP coming out at the end of the week or anything.
Go and buy a physical copy
That is words of advice from a man wiser than
and buy
most.
legendary pickups because they're awesome.
You know what? I'm not even mad at you for saying that. I'm not even mad at you.
I gotta represent the companies I use, man.
Represent.
Legendary is like
And also
legendary is at the
Ibanez.
heart of everything.
And also
Also
Ibanez.
Ibanez, but they don't need any help.
No, they really don't. Right. So thank you so much for being on with me this week, Mag.
Cheers for having me.
This has been Mark McGuire and Magnus Kiemer with that. Can't even remember
The hour of arc arrival.
hour of arc arrival.